Listen up, Latinas. It is time to take ownership of our dinero. Because if we don't, who will? Did you know that only 45% of Latinas have a savings account? And 83% of Hispanic millennials have no retirement savings whatsoever.
Damn!
And what's even more alarming, hermanas, is that even though we're the second largest ethnic group in the United States, there is a $200 billion lending gap between Latino-owned businesses and their white counterparts. This is why Cultura Latina exists, a free program designed to help Latinas build wealth, manage money, and secure their financial independence. This is about controlling your future and letting go of your money trauma. Mi gente, the wealth gap isn't shrinking, it is growing. And unless we take control of our finances right now, we risk passing down struggle instead of security. So don't hesitate, hermana. Join Cultura Latina, the only financial literacy program designed specifically by Latinas for Latinas. Get access to expert mentorship, an amazing community, and the tools that you need to thrive. Your financial independence begins right now. Join the movement today at culturalatina.net.
It doesn't matter who you are culturally, your story deserves to be told on a national platform. 2023 comes and I begin the IVF journey. And that's like a whole other ballgame. I'm the only one in my family that has fertility issues. Can we say bad words here?
Of course.
Oh, okay, perfect.
What should you be looking for when you're looking for a manager? And when do you know you're ready for a manager?
Okay, that's like the hardest question to answer. I'm gonna show you that I can take something hella Latina and get it like on national news. I think they were very intimidated by me because they felt like they needed to be in cruise control, and here I am like full of piss and vinegar, you know? I'm like, let's go.
I like what you also said about when you gave your resignation, you said you can also hire me as a consultant.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of people don't even consider that, which is a really smart and strategic way of leaving.
Yes, I'm jealous of Puerto Ricans.
Well, I didn't know we were going to dedicate this episode to Boricuas. No,
A lot to unpack. Are you guys ready? Are you ready?
What's up, mi gente? Welcome back to Banking on Cultura. I am your host, Victoria Jenn Rodriguez. And you know, on this show, we talk about the vibrancy and the complexity of our cultura, entrepreneurship, and of course, all the bochinche in between. And today's guest, she's worked with probably every fave influencer you know. And I'm pretty sure she's got a lot of tea to share with us. But what's really interesting about her journey that I'm excited for you guys to hear about is she ran a very successful public relations kind of agency. And then recently, she's decided to downsize and become a consultant. And so I wanted to have her on the show because this is good for us to hear, especially in this climate where we're all trying to figure out what makes the most sense for us in our business, and also giving ourselves grace, and also maybe going against, you know, the herd with everyone telling you that you should grow, grow, grow. Maybe now's the time to think about scaling back a little bit and taking back your power. So without further ado, Lissette Rios, thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you so much for having me. I know it was quite a journey to get here, so I appreciate your patience because, as you mentioned, like the past couple of months have been sheer insanity for me. So I was like, I didn't want to show up here until I can be my best and be 100% present. So thank you so much.
No, thank you. I'm excited. So let's get to some bochinche.
Mm-hmm.
Give us some tea.
Oh my God. Well, I don't know if anyone else has been on the internet in the past 2 days, but I think we're all caught off guard in the best way possible by Bad Bunny and his Calvin Klein campaign.
Yes.
Look, I'm a very happily married woman. I love my husband to death. To me, there is no one hotter than him, but there was like something about that video or videos. It's like, I can't stop watching it. I'm like, okay, papacito.
I know,
You
he
know-
really is a papicito.
My only thing that I wish Calvin Klein would have done is allow him to deliver the lines in Spanish. Because I feel like his English is great and I'm not shitting on him, but so much of his essence of like, yo hago lo que me dé la gana is like, you ain't never gonna change me. And I'm like, him speaking Spanish is like, that's why we love him. Like imagine him saying like, have you found your Calvins in Spanish? Like, I don't know. Or like, what's the vibe? I'm like,
sales through the roof.
¿Dónde está la vibra? En tus pantalones, Benito. Like, give it to us in Spanish. Like, it just hits different. But no, like, I don't know. What's your take on that campaign?
My take is, first of all, are all those tattoos his? Like, Are
Yeah.
all those his real tattoos?
Yeah, I mean, he's tatted up. Like, he's shown them before in different clips and stuff.
Okay, I didn't realize it was that much. And then on the back, he has like this mural of like a woman with like the arm, it looks like, right? That's the one on his
can't
back,
remember
if I'm
the
not
one on-
mistaken.
Because I don't really look at his back that much.
I mean, in the Calvin Klein, they're showing his bootay.
I'm more of like a chest and front kind of girl. I'm like the horses, the 10.
Yes.
I know he has like a Pokemon thing on his
Yeah,
back.
I saw that. He's got a butterfly like near his abs. He's so vibrant and
Yes.
beautiful. You know, it did really feel good to see him in this ad and for it to drop right now. I'm pretty sure this was like months ago that they did this, but the fact that it's dropping right now in this climate, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Please show more of us in these campaigns.
And at that scale, and apparently, which I haven't seen it IRL, but there is an actual massive billboard of him in Soho. Like the usual Calvin Klein space that they have. I think it's like on Broadway in Houston. I'm not really sure. Like, but somewhere around there, like he's up there. So I'm like, I need to see that. You know? Like
Girls trip.
yeah. Girls trip downtown.
To go see Benito in the billboard.
Yeah, no, that's fire. I mean, obviously the same for you. Like we go hard for our cultura. Yes, I'm Cuban, but I'm like an honorary Puerto Rican. Like my husband's Puerto Rican. There's a lot of Puerto Rican in-laws in my life. So it's, for me, I'm just like, I'm also Puerto Rican. So I'm just like, vamos.
Yes. Puerto Rican by
Puñeta. Can we say
insertion.
bad words here?
Of course.
Oh, okay, perfect. Just making
Yes,
sure.
we are very fluid here. We are very own the space that you are in, the skin that you are in. Are you going to this concert, by the way?
Girl, I tried and I did not. I signed up for the code. And when those concerts are happening, it's like my birthday month. I'm a Leo. I'm a summer
Okay.
baby. And I was like, hell yeah. Like we tried, my husband and I, we try to go to Puerto Rico at least once a year. Never got the code. So I couldn't get them. So
sorry.
I want to try. Why, you're going?
Yes, I am.
Just like, I will be like on all of your stories. Like, you better post that shit.
You're going to feel like you were there.
Please. I'm going to try to be like one of those like last minute people, but I know that the resale value is going to be
Yeah,
insane.
it's going to be ridiculous.
We went to his Un Verano Sin Ti concert in Yankee Stadium. We bought the tickets like
too.
2 days
Oh
before,
my God,
but it
it's
was
so good.
worth every cent.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, we must go, but it
Yeah.
didn't work out for me.
It was the best concert
It was.
I've ever been to, actually.
Same. It was just like, I
The
felt like
best.
my soul came out of my
Yes.
body.
I think we were there the same day, if
I-
I'm not mistaken.
went the
It
first
was on a
night.
weekend.
Yeah, there was only 2 nights. I went the first night with
I go the
Romeo. That Romeo came
Oh,
out.
no. Then no. I came out
You
the
went
second.
the second night when it was like the VMA
Yes.
one. Yes.
Yes. And with the fireworks and
Yeah.
all the things. Yes.
No, that was
best
fire.
concert ever.
No, literally. I
So
bought that
I
tent.
know this one is going to be insane. I know Puerto Rico's going to be on fire. It's just going to be.
It's gonna. I literally can't imagine what that island
I know.
is going to feel like for like that collective 3 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
because the energy of that island is just so incredible.
Yes.
And the passion that I think that's why like I'm just also incredibly enamored by him as a person, as a musician, as a marketer. It's just so empowering to see how he uplifts like his entire community. Like as I mentioned, like I'm Cuban, but I've never been to Cuba, so I have like a very disjointed like identity issue because like I can't really touch my land. It's not the same. So it's like I always tell my husband, I'm like, you know, when I come here, I just say like, this is my land, because I tell him like, I'm so jealous of you. Like whenever you want to feel like your culture, you can come here and feel it. Where it's like, if I do that in Cuba, it's really not the same. Like it's just such a complex, tortured island for like obvious reasons.
Yeah,
So
unfortunately.
yeah.
Well, the flags are kind of similar.
Yeah.
So.
I know. I'm like, we're kind of brothers
Yeah,
and sisters.
you can kind of feel like, you know, the connection there. But I hear what you're saying about like going back to the island and feeling like connected. Whenever I go to Puerto Rico, and if I'm ever a little lost or just feeling not like myself or just feeling like I need to like get that fiery, I don't even know how to describe it, but like that orgullo, basically.
Yeah.
Like you go there and I just automatically like pick myself back up. So that's for any of you guys, go visit your country of origin so that you
Truly.
can get connected and feel alive again. Because being here, it's very easy for you to get stripped of your cultura, get stripped of the identity that is you, because they're trying to force you to take on, you know, the American identity. And you could be both, and that's great. And many identify as both, but you can't forget
At all.
the roots.
At all. That's why it's like, even we went to Aguadilla last year, and it was our first time on like my first time on the west side of the island. And it was just like, you know, I think as Americans, and especially here in New York, like everything is like go, 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 fast, fast, fast. It's not that you don't have manners, but you're just so laser focused. Mm-hmm. So you may not say hi to every single person, or you may not say like, have a great meal or anything like that. But the sentiment is there. You just don't like vocalize it. You know, you're just like, and I remember telling her, I was like, man, the people of this city specifically, I don't know what it was about Aguadilla, but like, anytime we sat down and anyone that walked by us, if we were eating, buen provecho, buenos dias. And I was just like, this is so beautiful. I'm like, I love this island so much. But it's true. It's like, you just like remember like nothing is that serious. Like, you know, it's that like island vibe, like tranquilo tropical, you know, like you need that. I think like, especially here, it's like you need that balance of just like, if days are so intense, like break away and just go like to an island. And obviously with Puerto Rico, just go and experience it, but like appreciate it.
Totally. And instead of hearing like horns or an ambulance, like you got the cookies at night.
Oh my God, it's the best.
To keep you
it's
company.
Literally the best.
Yeah, it is.
So yes, I have I'm jealous of Puerto Ricans.
Well, I didn't know we were going to dedicate this episode to Boricuas. No, there's not. No, but I feel you on that. And shout out to Benito. I mean, for holding it down for all of us, regardless of what cultura you are from. If you're Latino, you are vibing out on this energy. Like, and it's so needed right now. Again, because of everything that's going on. Like, I feel like I can still talk my shit because we have key people in place that are empowering us to do so and like holding it down.
Yep.
Yeah. Tell the people about your firm and what it was and how it got there and where you are today.
It's a lot to unpack. Are you guys ready? Are you ready? I'm very excited about this fourth wall. I'm just kidding. So I guess I'll try to give you like the before and the after. But yes, I had Chic influence the original version of the agency. I had launched it 10 years ago. After spending 10 years in corporate, my background was traditional and still is traditional PR. So I spent 10 years in incredible agencies at a corporate level, running the multicultural practice and teams for the biggest brands to date. And I worked on Procter & Gamble brands and Unilever brands, which is like the top of the top when it comes to marketing from consumer packaged goods aspect. But of course, you know, like the corporate, you know, rat race got to me. I was 30 years old and I was a senior vice president, which is unheard of in my industry. Like I would go into rooms and everyone was 10 years my senior, but I was incredibly smart and I own that. I'm like, I'm very smart. I'm very strategic. I think out of the box, but I was also like an anomaly. I'm like a Latina, I'm hella young, and like I felt like my bosses didn't know what to do with me. Like I was filled with like so much energy, and then like everyone that was like more senior, I don't blame them. I think they were very intimidated by me because they felt like they needed to be in cruise control, and here I am like full of piss and vinegar, you know? I'm like, let's go. So then I was just very burnt out. And then my husband is an entrepreneur and I also come from a family of entrepreneurs. So I was just like, okay, he was just like, well, if you're working this hard, he's like, you're basically running a business within a business. Why don't you go and do your own thing? So I was like, but I was also still drinking the corporate Kool-Aid. I'm like, I can't leave this network. I can't leave this 6-figure salary. Are you kidding me? But I did it because then I also realized I had the conversation with myself. It's like, well, if they were to pay you more and promote you, would you still be happy? And the answer was no. So then I was like, okay, well, if the money and the position doesn't matter, let me go do something else. So I started Chic Influence really with the intention of showcasing brands and the industry that you can take something so rooted in culture and make it mainstream. Because the role that I had in my corporate job, yes, I was the senior vice president of the multicultural practice, but we worked in a very like we worked in a cylinder. It was like, okay, here's the general market campaign. They would pass it off to me to find like a Latina version of it. And I'm like, you guys, like it shouldn't be disjointed. Like our campaign should run in tandem with the general market campaign, which, like, for example, back then, and I'm sure it's still true, like, Latinas consumed, I think at that time, the stat was like 3.5% more hairspray than the general market. So it's like, if we are outspending in hairspray, then I should get, like, the biggest chunk of the hairspray campaign, right? It was little things like that, but it was always like, oh no. And then it was like, okay, and no disrespect to like Univision and Telemundo, but it was like, oh, Latina campaign translated in Spanish and send it to Telemundo. I was like, you guys are trying to reach me as a consumer. Like, I don't watch that network, right? Like, people do watch that network, but that's usually Spanish dominant, recent arrivals. Like, you're trying to hit like the U.S. Hispanic millennial
We
consumer
are the general market.
who speak English but are so proud of their culture. So I tell you all of this. That was the impetus to why I started Chic Influence, where I'm like, no, I'm going to show you that I can take something hella Latina and get it like on national news. And that's what I did. So luckily, I had met very early on. When I first started the business, I was consulting because I technically had what I call the handcuffs. I was never legally allowed to start my own agency because of the contract that I had signed at my old job. But the workaround is that I was not leaving the agency to compete with the companies that they had as clients. I wasn't trying to take on Procter & Gamble business. Like, I wanted to work with a whole other set of brands that weren't tied to conglomerates. So they were okay with that. But for the first year, I was not allowed to touch any CPG. So like no consumer packaged good. So
Hold on, I want to talk about this for a second. Many members of our audience and listeners, they are still working and they're thinking about starting their own thing. And similar to you and me, like, the best thing for you to start is something you have a skill set in,
Correct.
right? Which you may have already done while you were in corporate. So did you tell them that you were going to start a business?
Yes, I was very transparent.
Oh, so that was nice of you.
Yes, it was very nice of me. And I also gave them a month of my time.
Okay.
Instead of a 2-week notice. One, to quedar bien. You know what I mean? And I was very open and honest with them about everything.
Why?
Because one, I just knew that once I started marketing myself, they would see it.
So, do you think they were going to come for you?
Yes and no. But I wasn't sure, but I didn't want them to come for me. So for me, the easiest way is like, let me be open and honest. Let me be transparent. Because also, I think always long term. At the end of the day, maybe 5 years from then, I may need something of this agency. So I also don't want to burn a bridge, because that agency is a very powerful agency in my world of CPG.
Okay.
So that's why I was very transparent, and I told them straight out, because I'm very aware of everything that I sign. I know a lot of people, when they start in corporate, they just sign things very blindly, especially like the employee contracts and the code of conduct and all that stuff. No, like if they give you an 80-page booklet, as tedious as it is, read that shit. So that when you have to make this decision, by the time I walked in and I gave my resignation, I told them, like, I know I'm not supposed to start an agency. I'm not leaving this agency and starting to poach from you guys. I'm not trying to take your, but please let me go off and do my thing, because I am not happy here. And I told them, like, I'm not happy here. I'm underpaid. I don't have the freedom that you guys are giving me. And I told them, like, why would you want me here? Like, and I think also too, sometimes it's very hard for people to have those conversations. Like, yes, at the end of the day, employment is a transaction, but it's also incredibly human. We spend most of our lives at work. So it's like, I need to tell people, I'm just a very transparent person. So, and I also had told them, and this was 10 years ago. I was, I think, 30 or 31 when I left. I wasn't even married yet, but I was already thinking, okay, when I get married and I have kids, I need flexibility, because I was looking at all the women that had kids at that job. They were, I don't want to say miserable, but you can tell that there was like an internal struggle. And I'm like, I don't want to have to pick and choose my child or my career. Like, something has got to give. So I was also thinking like long term. So I told him, like, I need flexibility. I'm not happy here. I want to go try something out. But I also told them, I was like, you're happy to hire me as a consultant. You know, like, I will be here if you need something for a month. Because the minute I left that job, I had a very financially strong, what we call P&L, like a profit loss center. I was the most profitable P&L in the whole agency. I had a very lean team, but I had the percentage of what our profit was super high. And also, the minute I left, they were going to lose a lot of business. So I tried to make it as nice as possible. And then they came back to me and said, we're fine with you leaving, but can you not touch any CPG for a year. And I said, fine, because technically I went against the contract. And what I did is that, I consulted under the radar. How are they going to find out who I'm consulting? And then publicly, I was doing PR for individuals. So I was doing the PR for a celebrity hairstylist. I was doing PR for a fashion stylist. So it was individuals, nobody that they would have ever taken on as a client because, one, that's not their strong suit, and these clients don't have that kind of budget for that kind of agency.
I like what you also said about when you gave your resignation, you said you can also hire me as a consultant.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of people don't even consider that, which is a really smart and strategic way of leaving. It's like, obviously, there's going to be a vacancy there now. So it's in their best interest to consider possibly working with you. So, for example, if you would have gave them 2 weeks instead of a month, I don't know. They might have been like, you know what? Well, we'll bring you on as a consultant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you were nice. See me, like, you're getting your 2 weeks, and then you could hire me as a consultant. I'm more than happy to do that, right?
Yeah.
But that's a play, right? That not a lot of people take advantage of. I remember when I left my corporate gig, I didn't really know this. It just so happened that the relationships that I built, all of them became clients, all of my former employers. But it wasn't because I knew that was a play. Like, if I knew walking out that door, I could have been like, hey, you can keep me on as a consultant, right? Which many organizations would bite because it's cheaper, honestly, to get a consultant than it usually is to hire someone full-time because you're paying them the benefits and all the things. So some organizations prefer you coming in as a consultant. But if I knew that when I was walking out the door, I could have, negotiated a little better. But it was all right. I had a severance package. I had all the things. So it was all right, learning lesson. But okay, so you started the consultancy. You said you wouldn't poach CPG.
Yes.
You went out on your own, and then what happened?
And then, so I was kind of consulting under the radar. And then through that work, I met, at this point 9 years ago, Regina Merson, who is the founder of Reina Rebelde, which is, at the time, was the first makeup line for Latinas by Latinas. And she hadn't even launched yet. I was consulting for another makeup line that was like, hey, the woman that does my packaging has a new client, and she's specifically looking for somebody who specializes in Latina marketing. I'm like, of course, I would love to meet her. Long story short, we meet, and Regina's like, oh my God, you're perfect. I've interviewed every major agency you can think of, and nobody thinks like you. Everyone, it's like they do the same thing. Oh, you're Latina? Oh, let's translate everything, put it in Spanish, give it to Univision. And I was like, no, at the end of the day, you are makeup. You are a lipstick. You are an eyeshadow. This deserves to be in the hands of outlets like Allure, Glamour. They need to see it and talk about it. So that's what we did. And then through that work, and of course it's hard. The brand name is Reina Rebelde. How do I, how it's talk to non-Spanish people? I'm like, this is Reina Rebelde.
Girl, when I say the name of my podcast to people, I'm like, banking on Cultura. They're like, what?
You're like, banking on Cultura.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how they say it. And I have to break it up into syllables so that they can pronounce it. And then I have to say, Cultura means culture. Yeah. So that they get
and
it.
And it's literally a one-letter difference.
Yeah, exactly.
A to an E.
Exactly.
So that's what I did. And luckily, at the end of the day, I pulled out from her a story. I'm like, at the end of the day, the brand has a story and the founder has a story. So for me, she was like a dream client. I was like, not only did she create something in the market that hadn't been done before in terms of creating a uniquely authentic, beautiful makeup. I'm literally wearing all her makeup still on my face. But she's also an attorney who left her role as a very powerhouse bankruptcy attorney, left her career to start a makeup line, which is also crazy. She came from Mexico. She went to Yale for undergrad. She just has a crazy story. So I'm like, Regina, I need to be able to milk everything, not just the product story, your story. And she's just like, have at it. So for the first year I went so hard. I got her featured in Forbes, in Allure. Obviously, people in Espanol, and I was like, and everyone's like, how are you doing this? I'm like, I'm just telling a story. There's nothing crazy about what I'm doing. I just took the blinders off of what everyone does in corporate America in the world of PR, which is general market, African American, Latina, Asian. It's everyone just works on a phone. I'm like, you guys, let's merge it together. So luckily, with the work that I did with Reina Rebelde, is how Julissa Prado found me, who's the founder of Rizos Curls. So then she's just like, I want what you're doing for her. Do it for me. So I was like, let's go. So then that's how it all happened. So somehow I got every major Latina founder who had, I'm not going to say overlooked, but would have been incredibly hard to pitch had it not been for me, who has a nuanced outlook. Mm-hmm. And through all of that work, we've won awards with the top publications. They've had their own TED Talks. Like, it's just been incredibly powerful to uplift Latinas and showcase, like, it doesn't matter who you are culturally, your story deserves to be told on a national platform. Mm-hmm. So it's also a lot of work on the back end to get media to buy into it, because luckily the crazy part is like I'm like, people are like, how do you do it? I'm like, you know how I do it? I find anyone who's Latina who's an editor or producer, and then I pitch them because they understand. And then I'm like, hey, like, oh, my friend Erica, hey, you get this, like, you're Latina, like, look at this. And then she's like, oh my God, okay, can we get her on the Today Show? I'm like, let's go, you know? Like, so there's that. And then so the agency had the PR division. But then through the work that I was doing, obviously, with my brand clients and hiring out influencers, I was obviously booking influencers to do sponsored content. So then one of my industry friends had connected me with Kaylani, who's Viva Glam K. And then we book her, and I'm like, Kaylani, I'm like, you're really undercharging. Like, at this point, she already had 1 million followers on Instagram. She was charging very low. And I was like, you, for a fact, and this was like, 10 years ago or whatever, I was like, you could be charging like $10K per post. And she's like, that's crazy. Nobody would ever pay that. I was like, no, they would. Like, I come from the brand side. I know exactly how much budget brands have. But the thing is that, like, unless you ask for it, and you lowball yourself, they're not going to say,
of course.
Oh, if you say, oh, my post is $1,000, they're not going to be like, oh, but I actually had 10. They'll be like, okay, give me the post for $1,000.
It's very rare that you find a real one that would actually do that.
So we started off very slowly, because it didn't even cross my mind to manage talent, to be honest. I was just like, I really wanted to help her. But she was just like, okay, I want to help you back for investing. So, like, if you bring in something, just take a percentage. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. So we did it. And then in a couple of months, like, the deals just started pouring in, because I have a lot of connections with people with access to budget. So then she was like, she had asked me, she's like, I never forget. It was like she was asking me to marry her. Like, we were in Chicago, because I was just like, I would try to, like, plug her in any opportunity as possible. I was like, hey, there's this big conference happening in Chicago. If I get your flight paid for, you want to go out and speak on this panel? Like, it's all media buying agencies. Like, these are the people who are pumping money into influencers. She's like, heck yeah. So she gets flown out. I go out there too. And we're in a room, and she's like, will you be my manager?
Oh,
yes, guys. I have a picture of that day still on my Instagram. I was like, oh my God, yes. So then that's how kind of the talent division unofficially started, because I started managing her just to feel out the waters. Because managing talent, I hate to say this word, it is kind of like you're like babysitting someone, but you're also like literally managing them, but like staying on top of them. Because now I'm selling content. That's my product. And if you don't keep pumping out the content, I have nothing to sell. So it's also like, girl, and obviously Kaylani's great. So she's a content machine. So then what happened is that, at this point, brands are like, I love working with you. I love working with Kaylani, but I don't always need such a big influencer. Do you have other creators that I can book through you? So if I have a campaign, I can just give you X budget and just work across your talent roster. And I was like, damn, I don't have anyone else. So then luckily my brand friends were like, hey, this creator doesn't have a manager. Do you want to explore? And I'm like, sure, great. And then in all of that, Ori, who worked with me for 7 years, I connected with her because she was just intrigued to understand what I was doing on the talent side. And she came from the PR side. So she was like, hey, I'm very interested in getting into talent management. Like, can I support you? And I was like, yeah, for sure. Like, I need help. I actually have like a backlog of creators that I want to take on, but I can't run the PR side and manage talent. Like, I need help. So if you're willing to like help me launch this division, like, you can just run with it. And then I come in and obviously support as needed. So thank God for her, because Ori came in, and we were able to sign on like 4 more creators. And then it was great because everybody was different. Nobody competed with anyone. And it was like everyone was like a different size, a different point of view. And that's really how the talent division started. And I just never thought it would have kind of steamrolled the way that it did, because we made millions in deals. Like that part was so gratifying, obviously from a financial aspect, but we also worked with incredible brands, and we saw like all of our talent just have like 100% year over year growth. So it's like, we would always say, hey, oh, you made X amount this year, you're going to do double next year. Like, that's crazy. And I was like, we always did it. We were able to double down every year. And that part was also super satisfying. But, you know, 9 years into it, 9.5 years into it.
Okay, wait, before we talk about the transition.
Okay.
Because there's a lot to unpack here.
Okay.
First, mi gente, I've got the perfect freebie for you. So I just dropped a 17-page workbook to help you get your mind right, especially in this climate of so much uncertainty. So if you are an aspiring or current entrepreneur and you're just feeling stuck, you're not feeling too good about what the future holds, and all the turmoil, the politics, all of it is just throwing you off your game, this workbook is actually going to act as a journal for you. It covers goal setting, efficiency tips, how to manage your time, financial management tips, strategies on how to wrap your head around the next big thing that's coming down the pipeline to bring you consistent revenue in your business. It covers what you should be doubling down on in terms of your well-being, and it is just my favorite jam-packed journal full of marketing and sales strategy to help you get clarity, but most importantly, to help you secure the big bag. So make sure to tap on the link in the show notes. I've linked it there so that you guys can get really clear on the top hacks that you can put into play to set yourself up for success. I hope you love it. Selfishly, I want to know. What should you be looking for when you're looking for a manager? And when do you know you're ready for a manager?
Okay, that's like the hardest question to answer.
Okay.
Not in a bad way, because it is very layered. A lot of creators, they start creating, they're like, I need a manager. Yes, do you need a manager? Here's the breakdown. I think what we saw with all of our creators, you should get a manager when you really have so many deals that you can't even keep up. Because a manager, especially the way that we operate, there's a lot of agencies that just take on a bunch of creators, and it's like they don't really pour into you. It's all inbound, and they're just responding. The way that we would work, it's like, yes, we do inbound, but we would really ask our talent, what are your dream brands? And we would go out and pitch it. So we would do a lot of proactive pitching. But we would, for example, I would only sign on a talent if I knew that they were already making money. Because the thing is that the economics of how a manager makes money is a percentage off of the commission. So yes, I would have loved to sign super micro influencers that had potential, but in the reality, there's a certain threshold that we can charge. So like, if we know for a fact that your following can only really pull in $500 for a post, and we take 20%, I'm not working that hard for $100. You know what I mean? So especially that, like, at the structure and the level we were operating at, you know, I had a team of 3 people. I had an accountant, a legal counsel on call, because the contracts get very complicated. So it's kind of twofold. The manager's gonna wanna take on talent that is already a full-time content creator, so they're dedicated and fully pumping out content. They're active on more than one platform, and that's very important, because as you guys saw with like the TikTok kind of shutdown, and even with past platforms like Vine going away, if you have all of your audience in one place, and for whatever reason that platform goes down, your audience needs to live somewhere else, so that we have more than one place to sell. That you're innovating across the platforms, that you're brand friendly, and that you're a professional, because managers don't want to work with someone who can't meet a deadline. That's super, super important. So then there's that component. What a manager does, and I think sometimes there's some confusion on like, well, what is the role of a manager if, let's say, all of my deals are inbound, right? So a creator, usually by the time they came to us, they're like, we need a manager. It's like they were kind of drowning in the administrative work and the communication back and forth with the brand, that now it was impeding their ability to create content. Because at the end of the day, an influencer's job is to create content. So we come in and do all the admin stuff. But a lot of the times, influencers and creators, because they're very creative, they're not very, and there's nothing wrong with saying it, they're not the best business people. So they're lacking in business communication, they're lacking in business acumen, they're lacking in legal understanding. So what happens? They've gotten taken advantage of, underpaid. So then we come in and create a layer of like, no, go focus on creating the content, and we're gonna come in and we're gonna organize everything for you. By the time we give you a contract, it's legally cleared, you're protected. You know, you don't even have to worry about sending an invoice. We're going to, you know, send you the money and all that. And we would run the campaigns for them. We would send them off to events and all that stuff. But you also have to be ready to let go of about 20% of your income. So, but once you have a manager, they're helping you make it way more than what you were making on your own. Because there's also a different level of respect that brands have, unfortunately, when there's a manager involved, because the brands already know we can't fuck with you, because they know that the managers are looking out for certain things. So it's just a very different ball game. So I think, to answer your question, is like, when you need a manager is when you're fully dedicated to the craft. You've been able to book deals on your own so that it's also financially enticing for the manager to bring you on, and that you're professional. I literally cannot stress that enough.
But what do you look for in a manager now?
I think I feel like that answer would be better served coming from an influencer, but just hearing from what I hear from influencers, I think influencers want from a manager someone who is a team player, meaning like, you're not just my manager answering my emails on my behalf. You are the strategic arm to me in helping me grow my brand. So I think like a perfect example, which I believe you follow, Serena, right?
Yes.
So we worked with Serena for about...
Serena Kerrigan, by the way.
Serena Kerrigan, not Williams. I wish.
Right.
We managed her for about 7 years, and we really were an extension of her team. Right? So it's like, if she had an idea, it was very collaborative. It wasn't just like this thing where we would plop down and be like, oh, you have this deal. We would work together. She would be like, oh, I want to work with XYZ brand. And we're like, oh, great. Give us some ideas that we can pitch the brand creatively. We would go off and pitch it. So I think influencers who are really dedicated and want to grow, they probably want from their manager someone who is very proactive, right? So it's like, you know, Kaylani, when she was pregnant, she would tell me, she's like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. Can we sell it to Clear Blue? And I'm like, heck yes. You know, so it's like that kind of thing where it's like, you're a team. There's no like, oh, I'm just your manager. You know, no, we're an extension of your team. And obviously at the end of the day, of course, they want to make money. That's what the end goal is too. But it takes a long time to get there, to be honest, because a lot of the times, you know, I always say, especially in the influencer space, unless you're like a fire content creator, there's a great content creators that manage themselves because they have a lot of business acumen. So that part is great. They understand relationships. They understand the differences between the brands managing the campaigns versus the agencies managing the campaigns, and they know who the key players are, which is something that managers have an understanding of, because something that happens a lot is that creators are like, oh, this person got a deal, and why didn't I get a deal? And And it's just like, there's so many things at play here. It's not just like you got this and I got that. But, oh my God, I lost my train of thought.
Hold on. What is the difference between the agency managing the campaign versus the brand? Because I've been in situations where I'm like talking to the brand, and the brand is like, okay, yeah, we're going to give you $50,000 for this campaign. And then the next day it's like, okay, we want you to talk to someone at the agency. And I'm like, okay, hold on a second. So who's making the decision here?
It's kind of twofold, because the weird part is, and this is coming from someone who worked at an agency, and then this is someone who's obviously done it all. A lot of the times brands, I don't know why they do this, but the brands will have campaigns that they own internally. And then there's a chunk of budget that they will give, let's say, a different campaign to the agency. Most of the time the agencies are there because obviously it's cheaper to hire, to your point, let's say a consultant, but at this point an agency that has a team and execute a campaign versus using the resources of a brand. So they'll outsource it. But once, let's say the brand passes the campaign to the agency, now it's the agency's decision on how they're going to allocate the budget, right? So they're the ones saying, oh, we want to work with 10 creators and this is how we have to spread.
But the brand has influence on
the brand has influence because ultimately the brand has to approve the plan.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean, but usually the agency can influence and say, hey, I think we should give this person this amount. Okay. And that's where sometimes the brands are not going to get into the nitty gritty. They'll just be like, well, if you think that's the best approach, then do it. Because here's like another thing, which is kind of crazy. At my old job, we would have to report to our client. We had a value tracker where we had to show all the ways we negotiated and how much we were to bring things down. So we would track like, oh, if this influencer quoted us this, but we were able to bring it down to this, we would say, hey, we just saved you $5,000. So it's also in the agency's interest to negotiate down because they have to report back to the brand, hey, I just saved you, let's say in the course of a quarter, like $500,000.
Yes.
So it's like a whole web of things.
Okay. I feel like this whole episode could be on this, but this is not what we were supposed to do. So you built this amazing organization, bringing in millions in brand deals. Mm-hmm. Would you say you were like at the height of your success? Like you were on fire?
I mean, I would think so, yes. I think my version of success was the girl boss.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I can do this and everyone can do this and this is so amazing. But in reality, I was burnt the fuck out. I was dealing with severe anxiety. I was already throttling in depression, which is crazy to say out loud because everyone's like, you're not depressed. And I was like, no, because I'm a high functioning depressed person. And I'm also really good at like code switching. Now that I'm on the other side of things, I realize what those behaviors were, where like my anxiety and depression gave me like a fear of going outside. I became like a mega introvert. So all I would do was go to work and go home, go to work and go home, or go to work, work out and run, right? My only escape was like running my crazy marathons. But so like 2 years ago, so like in 2022 I was just like, I think I don't want to do this anymore. I was very tired. I think the exhaustion of keeping the business afloat from the pandemic caught up. Because when the pandemic happened, it was like, what the fuck is happening? And every brand, all of my brand clients, all of my creator clients is like, well, what next? And I'm like, I don't know. I've never been through a pandemic. I've never been through a global quarantine, you know? I was like, all we can do is, which I hate saying this word, but we all use pivot. We just have to pivot.
What's up, mi gente? Bet you didn't know that Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You know what's a little less accepted? Taking financial advice from random usernames and avatars you found on some forum. That's just sketchy. No offense to all the finance bros out there on the internet. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. Learn more at discover.com/credit card.
Pivot. So that part was exhausting. And then I was like, not only did I have to worry about my company, I'm also in charge of the income of these creators. So it's like, it's not just my income, it's their income. It's also the salaries of my team. So thank God for PPP. I got PPP and that saved me from having to not have to lay off anyone. But I think that like being on like that hamster wheel of like the pandemic caught up to me in 2022 where I'm just like, I'm fucking exhausted. I don't think I want to do this anymore. But I held on because I had a team. And how do I let go of a team? And how do I let go of my clients? So I was just like, I'm just going to keep going. And then also in 2022, my husband and I, we officially started trying to have a family and it wasn't working out. So I was like, whatever, you know, you kind of go through it and you're just like, whatever. But then 2023 comes and I begin the IVF journey. And that's like a whole other ballgame. So we go through it. The first year, I never said anything publicly because I was still trying to figure out myself. Like, I'm the only one in my family that has fertility issues. I didn't really know anyone directly that had been going through it. So I was like, I'm that kind of person. I'm very transparent. Like, I'm very open. But I'm very open once I understand or I know how to communicate my feelings around something. So we were going through it. And of course, I was like so gung-ho. I'm like, it's going to work the first time because I'm so healthy. You know, I go through my egg retrieval. We get our embryos and the first one doesn't stick. And I'm like, shit. I was like, oh, fuck. And then the second one, I'm like pregnant. And I'm like, hell yeah. And then they're like, oh, just kidding. You lost it. And I was like, oh, that's fucking great. Yeah, I'm making fun of it now because I love to cope. This is my coping mechanism. And I was destroyed. I'm like, this really sucks. So I ended the year 2023 like sad, and then 2024.
And this is while you're running the business.
Yeah,
still.
This is while I'm running the business and nobody knows.
Depressed.
I'm just like,
yeah,
you know, I like one of my clients, Regina, she's like, girl, you deserve an Oscar for the performances that you gave the last 2 years. Because she's like, nobody would have ever known unless you were like, I'm going through IVF. And it's hard because what people don't realize with IVF, it's like, it's not just the journey. You are being pumped with so many hormones that you have zero control of your body and your emotions. Like, I would literally be walking outside looking at a flower and like tears are coming down my eyes. Like, it's you're so irrational. It's like your PMS like times 1,000. And then you're bloated, you're uncomfortable, you're hungry, you're gaining weight. Like, it's just a thing. So in 2024, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this again. We're going to try again. But last year was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. It dragged me through the mud. Last year broke me. I was a very broken person last year, and I could not. And towards the end, I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I was having to cancel client calls because I was mentally unwell I had a lot of losses last year. So it's like, why? I at this point, I couldn't even fake it. I'm like, I don't care about your lipstick. I just lost a baby,
Right.
It was like little things like that where I'm like, this feels so silly. And I was like, there's so much bigger things happening. And here I am like, social media, So I told my husband, like, I need to rejigger what my version of success is, because this isn't it right now. And it was also incredibly unfair to my team. And it was also unfair to my clients, because I was not even 20% there. I was a shell of a human where I was just operating enough to look like I was getting things done, but I was unable to do new business. I was unable to operate at the bigger level to like think of really fun ideas. And that's what I love. Like, I love new business. I love strategy. I was just doing enough to keep the lights on. And it caught up where it's like the end of the year comes and a lot of things were shifting. And it was like the decision was made for me. I either save myself or I save the business. And I had already gone through saving the business with the pandemic. I'm like, I literally do not have the energy to do this again. It will drive me to the floor if I try to do this again. So I chose myself, and it was incredibly hard. I spent all of October through December crying every single day. There was not a day that there was not tears coming down my eyes, where I was like having to tell the team individually, the agency is closing and it's ceasing operations as it currently exists. And then telling all the clients, and then putting a game plan together for everyone so that like I minimize like the dismantling. And then I just told myself, and everyone's like, what's next? And everybody knows that I'm like neurotic, OCD, like I always have a plan. And it was the first time in my life, I'm like, I literally do not know what the hell I'm gonna do next. All I know is that I need to step away, because this was beyond, just go on a vacation. No. Like, I literally did not want to be texted. I didn't want to be asked a question. I literally wanted to pretend that I did not exist for a moment in time. I was overly stimulated, because it wasn't just the business part of it. IVF is so intrusive. So it's like I had no control of my schedule. It was like I wake up, I go to doctor's office. They draw blood, transvaginal ultrasound. It's like you're being poked and prodded. Like, I'm just like, okay, I'm a big science experiment. And then you go home, you inject yourself with a bunch of shit. You go through all these procedures. Oh, open the computer, conference call time. Oh my God, when am I getting paid? Okay, here's payroll. Like, it was just too much. I would get home and I was just like incapable of making a decision. So I shut it down and I told myself, I'm not gonna do anything for 3 months. So by the time I publicly said it, which was like the end of December, I was already chilling. I was chilling all of December. December was chilling, but also a lot of dismantling, which is still a lot of work. And then January was truly like, I was just chilling. Like, I no longer had an alarm on my phone. We adopted a second dog, so that keeps me very active. But she's my alarm clock. Because she's a puppy, she's a working dog, which I specifically wanted because she keeps me active and she keeps me outside. My biggest therapy was going on walks with her, because that's the other thing with the IVF process. You're very limited with the kind of physical activity you can do. And I'm a lifelong athlete. So that also physically, it's been hard for me. This is like the heaviest I've been in my adult life. But also, to me, exercise is for my mental health. So not being able to run or lift weights was hard. So also I'm like, I need like a very active dog, because all I'm limited to right now is like walking.
So when you were dismantling the company, did you say to yourself, okay, before I completely close down, I need to have this much money in my bank account to hold me down while I think about what's next, or while I just chill?
Yeah, I mean, I already had a savings account. So for me, closing the business, I had and I have that financial cushion, which allowed me to tell myself, okay, if I needed to, I can take 6 months off and be fine. Yes, I have a husband, but in my mind, I like to keep my finances separate, because I never want to be a financial burden to him. yes, I mean, we've been together for like 13 years, but still, like, I'm just like, I don't want to, he has his own stress. I don't need to add on to his stress. So yes, I had a certain amount in my personal savings that allowed me to make that decision. And I think that also helped me be a little less fearful of like, oh my God, like what's next?
Or make like an irrational decision because you were like stressed.
Oh, I was already doing like a trauma response thing where I was like, literally, I applied to like 13 jobs. And my husband was like, what are you doing? He's like, you need to chill. I was like, oh my God, look, I could be making like 400K. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm applying to everything. And then I was like, back away from the computer. So yeah, like it's...
And you had to like force yourself to cógelo con te crisis.
Yeah.
Which I think is really difficult for women like us who are just like, go, super ambitious, make something out of nothing, is used to like trailing her own lane, like holding it down, like all the things, to just like completely stop and like sit with yourself. Like it was super
hard.
Courageous, first of all.
It was so hard. After like the second week, it felt like a little bit better. But like the first week, I was doing like the whole like, I would wake up at like 6, mainly because the dog wakes up early. I like walk her and then I go home. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a housewife now. I'm going to clean and cook. And it was like still anxiety. And I was like, bitch, chill.
Yo, you were making gourmet
I mean,
meals.
I still do. I just don't post it because I'm just tired. I'm like,
10-course meals. I'm like, okay,
I'm making chili and sea bass and risotto tonight. No, I love cooking. And I think also, too, the reason why everyone's like, why do you cook so much? And I was like, honestly, because it takes me away from the computer. I like to be I like to keep my hands busy. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure I'm undiagnosed ADD, ADHD possibly. My brother has full-blown ADHD. I'm very like, if I don't keep my hands busy, I will be on technology. And I'm very aware of that. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's like, I like to cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I literally cook like 3-course meals for every meal.
I know. I see it on social media. Yeah. I was like, look at her go. Like, I want to move in.
And it's very therapeutic because it also helps me practice not stillness, but like slowness. So it's like I also told myself, like, not everything has to be fast, because that's also feeds into the anxiety. Like, not everything needs to be fast. This whole resetting of my nervous system requires stillness. So it's like, yes, I love my Nespresso machine, but I stopped using it and I do French press instead, which forces me to grind my coffee beans every morning and boil water and let it steep. Like, yes, that sounds very like whatever, but it's like, it helps me be not like so neurotic. So, and I needed that time just to constantly think, which, for me, when I was dismantling the business, I was telling myself and everyone, which is the same chaotic thing I did when I left my old job. It's like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. I hate PR. I'm not gonna do it because this is so exhausting. It drove me to like this neurotic place that I'm in. And I told myself, I'm like, no, why are you leaving something that you're really good at and that you genuinely love? You just have to show up differently. So I went through this exercise where I did I call it my 4-column like process, where it's like I write down everything I'm really good at. And I write that down. And then I write down everything I like to do. Because what you're good at and what you like to do are 2 very different things. And then I had a column of like things that I dream about. Crazy things. Like I wrote like own a nail salon. Just write everything you dream about. And then a column of like everything you hate in your professional world. And then going through that process, it dawned on me. I was like, okay, I'm really good at storytelling. I'm really good at PR. I'm obviously really good at influencer marketing and helping people kind of shape their businesses. And I'm obviously really good at helping women kind of like find or kind of help them get unstuck. And I'm really good at strategy. But what I realized that I didn't like was the execution. That is what was burning me out. Where oh, this is the launch. Okay, here's your strategy. Oh, can you plan the event and do the media tour and all that stuff? I'm like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I will give you the plan. You need to find somebody else to execute. That is what was burning me out. So that's why I'm like, wait, I can be a consultant because it still allows me to operate in that space and help people who just need a push and say, oh, like I met with a friend who's an interior designer and she's just like, I can do all of this. I just don't know where to start. She's like, can you help me put a toolkit together? I'm like, perfect. Like, you're my dream client. Like, that's exactly one. It's like, these are all your assets. This is how to structure it. This is all the opportunities you have. Like, if you have this opportunity, this is how it should show up on social. This is how it should show up on your email. This is how you can pitch it to media and just kind of create that toolkit. I don't want to be in the weeds at that level. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to take on projects and have that flexibility because I am so used to having somewhat of like a very free schedule. I'm not against going back to corporate, and I am putting it out there like I'm open to it, but it has to be the right company, the right brand, the right pay, because girl, benefits sounds so good right now.
I hear you. How were you managing benefits? Because the both of you guys were entrepreneurs, like you and hubby.
We each have insurance, like we actually have Oscar because they're probably one of the friendliest to like entrepreneurs and people who just want to buy their own policies, but it is crazy expensive. It is. We pay the full price where like if you go through a company, you're paying a part and the company's paying the other part.
How much is it?
My policy alone is $1,100 a month.
Oh, wow. And do you have to do copay and everything?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And and IVF is not covered. Insurance.
Yeah, I know. That's where all those millions in brand deals came through.
No, literally, luckily, thank God for my husband.
So let's get into the Talk That Talk segment to wrap things up. So we were talking about IVF, and, you know, I've had guests prior on the show that spoke a lot about how difficult it is to go through this experience because it's not really spoken about. And also, like, to your point, I know we were talking and you were like, you know, Latinas are known to be like fertile myrtle. Like, that's what society thinks about Latinas. And for you not to be able to like produce in that way, it's kind of like shame. You know, I think about what is that show that the woman was walking down and they were like, shame. Game of Thrones, was it?
I think
they
so.
Were like,
I feel like I can visualize it, but
they were like throwing rocks at her and just saying shame. But that's like how it feels, right?
Yeah.
So what do we need to do as a community to make sure that we like stop the shenanigans?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it's a tough conversation. It's a tough topic because first of all, it's still somewhat taboo. And then I realized that maybe a lot of reasons people don't talk about it is that, like, they themselves don't even understand it, right? So it's like, for me, and I know we were kind of talking about it a little bit before, it's like, I consider myself a very smart, educated woman. But there was things that I was learning about my own body during IVF where I'm like, wait, like, why didn't I know this, right? So I think, one, it's like, it's just so layered. One, it's like education around the human reproductive system is so simplified when it shouldn't be at the school level. Because for some reason, the thing that we all have on our body, some reason we can't talk about it, right? We're taught in school, you have a vagina, he has a penis, don't have sex. It's not that simple. Our bodies are very complex, and it makes almost girls uncomfortable with their own bodies because we don't even understand it, right? So then there's that component. Then there's the component that, you know, when you start trying, it's like, oh, just have sex, just relax. You know, when you relax, it'll come. And it's like, no, you actually need to track your ovulation. It's not just like, oh, we're just gonna like have sex and hope it happens. Like, our fertility window is actually incredibly short, which goes back to education. We're taught like never have sex because you're going to get pregnant. When in reality, you only have maybe a 3 to 6 day window where you're actually able to conceive within your 28-day cycle. So then there's that component. It's like actually learning that it's super complex, and it's actually learning that the female reproductive system is incredibly inefficient. Most women have losses. And 1 in 4 women in this country currently are dealing with infertility. That's a lot of people.
That is a lot.
It's a lot of people. And I think we're getting better now, unfortunately, because there's so many policies around it where people are like, no, I need to speak up about this because like now policies are being written that could impede our ability to have access to it. But I think the biggest thing for anyone, especially in the Latino community, is just be supportive. And also listen to how the person wants the support and actually stick to it. And I say that because, you know, I know that people want to actually help and be there. But it's really hard, speaking from my own personal experience. I'm the only one in my family that has fertility issues. Every single person has gotten pregnant and has had a full term and a live birth, right? I've been pregnant, but I have not carried full term. So, it's hard because our families, they care so deeply and they want to be there and they naturally want to ask. But when you're living and breathing and going through IVF, the last thing I want to do is talk about it. I'm exhausted. And I also don't want to, I already feel like a science experiment. So I actually told everyone, I was like, don't bring it up unless I bring it up, because I need a break from talking about it. And I don't want to talk about it. And if I have an update for you, I'll give it to you. And it was very hard for my parents because they're so like excited.
Yeah, they're your besties.
They're like my besties. But also too, like, IVF is so, it's like everything is like hurry up and wait. So it's like you do one thing and then you have to wait 3 weeks for the next thing. It's like there's these long waiting periods. And I'm like, I don't always have an update for you. Right now the embryos are baking. I don't know what's happening. So it's really hard. And I just think, like, hear people, be a resource. And literally the one thing I cannot stand hearing, and I don't ever change it. Like, it's hard. It's just like, oh my God, I can't believe you don't have kids.
Girl.
And I'm just like, do you want me to tell you I just lost one yesterday? Like, right, I don't know.
Exactly. Not only that, but like the women who like are choosing not to have kids, or maybe they haven't met someone that they want to have kids with, and their desire is not to raise a kid on their own. Like, again, shame. Like, you're not doing what women are supposed to do. Like, that's what you're here for. You're here to reproduce. And it's fucked up because we're the ones who get all the pressure all the time. And it's like, I'm looking forward to more education around this, especially for men, so that they can start understanding how much of a challenge women face when it comes to this. Like, it's not just, oh, your sperm is all good and it's just going to happen. No, there's a lot of things to consider, which adds to the whole shame, because they are ignorant. They don't know what the hell they're talking about.
And then also sometimes, it's not our case, but like there's sometimes the fertility issue is also the male, and it's called male factor infertility. So then there's that. I think going through IVF, it's tough, right? In this aspect, my husband and I, we both really want a family. So we're both in this together. The support, I can tell you that going through this made me realize, like, I married the perfect man. Because the level of support that he gives me is insane, right? And it goes both ways. And men have a very different way of externally expressing themselves around this too. And I think, there's no way you can prepare for IVF until you're in it, but it will test your marriage in very different ways. Like, we've had to have conversations that I just never thought I would have to have. Because, like, for example, like, when you start the IVF process, there's a lot of legal paperwork that you have to sign because you're literally creating embryos. So there's this massive contract that you sign with your clinic. And some of the questions are like, well, once these embryos are created, what happens if one of the partner dies? Who gets the embryos? So you have to make a decision on that. And then it's like, well, if the other surviving partner dies, what do we do with the embryos? Do you want to donate them or do you want to discard them? Oh, what if you guys get divorced? Where are these embryos going? Like, it's like so late. Like, they literally think through every scenario, and then you like sit with this contract in front of each other and you're like, oh shit. Like, how do we talk about this? You know? So it's really tough, and it'll test you. And I think in our situation, I'm very grateful. It's brought us much closer together. But yeah, I think men also have had to do a lot of learning, because at the end of the day, the one that gets the brunt of all of this is the woman. We're the ones injecting ourselves. Like, yo, for the dude, it's so easy. They just like get a cup, do their thing. And here we are being poked, prodded, like in every way imaginable. And these procedures a lot of them are very painful. Very, very painful. And because we're dealing with like the uterus, a lot of the things they really can't give you pain medication for. So unfortunately, you gotta rough it out. But yeah, I think luckily I've seen more and more women talk about it on social. And a big reason why I share when I share is mainly for selfish reasons, to be honest. Like, I want to feel less alone. And when I share, a lot of people come out of the woodwork and they tell me like, hey, I had my kids through IVF, like, keep going. And that gives me so much like animo, And then people tell me like, oh, thank you so much for sharing, because like I'm going through this and like it makes me feel really lonely going through it. But then I remember like every time I go to my IVF clinic, it is slam packed. Like slam packed. So I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, what is happening? Like, I'm like, but at the same time, I'm like, why? Like, is it age? Is it environmental? Like, what is it?
Is it food? Like what we're eating?
I don't know. Like for me, honestly, it's completely they call it unexplained infertility, because I don't have an autoimmune issue. Like I don't have PCOS. I don't have, a lot of the times like those sorts of things will contribute to infertility. But for some reason, I don't know. I'm just un caso especial.
Well, let's tell the people where they can follow your journey, because you are on quite the journey, both personally and professionally. So where can they find you?
I post most of my content on Instagram because I'm a millennial. So you can find me on Instagram at Lissy Marie. So it's LISSYMARIE. And then I put a lot of my professional kind of tips and tricks and that sort of content on my business page, which is at Chic Influence. And then I started my TikTok like a month ago.
Oh, shit.
So I've just been like, honestly, I'm repurposing a lot of the content, but then I sprinkle
that's what
in.
I do.
I sprinkle in some TikTok exclusive content, because I really realize now that TikTok is just where you go to like kiki and have fun.
Yes.
I'm really starting to like the TikTok community.
Yeah.
Like they're fun. They're more fun.
And you grow faster.
Yeah, like I posted one
Instagram
video
is
yesterday,
like
and I'm like,
graveyard town.
for some reason on Instagram, the more I post, I keep losing followers, and then on TikTok, the more I post, the more followers I get. But yeah,
it's annoying.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited to witness this journey that you're on, and I'm really proud of you for being so courageous, for being so daring, for being a risk taker, because it gives other women permission to do that too, because there are a lot of women who are in the same position where they're super frustrated, they're stuck, they're feeling strapped, they're overwhelmed, and they're just continuing on just to continue on, right?
Yeah.
And so we need examples of what it's like when you choose you and when you make yourself a priority, and you're gonna survive and you're gonna be okay.
It's gonna be fine.
Right. And you're gonna be all right. So thank you for that. And a little tidbit, I don't know, you're your own brand right now, mujer. I hope you know that.
I mean, I guess so.
Listen, I be seeing the voiceovers. I'm like, oh my God, Lissette is an influencer.
It's just
She's about to come who she used to manage, and you're gonna kill it because the brand deals are gonna come to you.
No, that's so funny.
And you're gonna know how to negotiate it.
Well, that part, yes. Trust me. If there's one thing I love is a contract and putting red line edits on it. I'm just so much, because and I'm very inspired by women like you, because you are your own brand and you show up fearlessly and consistently and authentically. And that is very empowering. I've always been an incredibly behind the scenes person, because that's where I'm comfortable. Yes, I have no problem. I can pop off and talk someone's head off. But once I entered, okay, now I'm a consultant, I have to put myself out there. Like I had to have this conversation with myself. It's like, why would someone hire me? I need to tell them why they need to hire me. And that can only come to life via content. So it is uncomfortable. This is why the voiceovers, I have more fun with them, because it's less stressful. Talking to a camera, sometimes I'm like, oh my God. And I spend a lot of time writing those scripts.
I know you do, girl, because you're a perfectionist.
But, I'm having a lot of fun, because it also, I don't know, it's a challenge too. And I like to do different things.
Yeah.
But you inspire me too. So.
Oh, thank you, love. You're in reinvention mode. The
YOLO.
ultimate pivot. But yeah, it's exciting to witness, and I can't wait to support and watch you do the glow up and all the things, probably hire you at some point, because I've been wanting to hire you. You already know. I remember I went to Lissette and I was like, yeah, so can you hire me? You were like, no, I got too many clients. And then there was a time and you were like, yeah, I'm going to need a 3-month retainer up front. I was like, okay, I'll come back later. So now might be the time.
Yes. I'm real cheap now. No, I was kidding.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate
so much for having
you.
This was such a fun chat.
Yes, it was. And thank you to all of you for being here. Remember to leave your reviews. Remember to subscribe, and also share this episode if you know a fellow entrepreneur that is in the trenches right now, that's just thinking about next steps and unsure about what steps to take next. Definitely share this. Anybody in the IVF journey, share this with them, and just anyone else that you think will resonate with what we talked about today. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next episode. Ciao.
Listen up, Latinas. It is time to take ownership of our dinero. Because if we don't, who will? Did you know that only 45% of Latinas have a savings account? And 83% of Hispanic millennials have no retirement savings whatsoever. Damn! And what's even more alarming, hermanas, is that even though we're the second largest ethnic group in the United States, there's a $200 billion lending gap between Latino-owned businesses and their white counterparts. This is why Fortuna Latina exists, a free program designed to help Latinas build wealth, manage money, and secure their financial independence. This is about controlling your future and letting go of your money trauma. Mi gente, the wealth gap isn't shrinking, it is growing. And unless we take control of our finances right now, we risk passing down struggle instead of security. So don't hesitate, hermana. Join Cultura Latina, the only financial literacy program designed specifically by Latinas for Latinas. Get access to expert mentorship, an amazing community, and the tools that you need to thrive. Your financial independence begins right now. Join the movement today at fortunalatina.net.
Mi gente, did you enjoy this episode? Are you loving Banking on Cultura? Make sure to subscribe and follow us. Our goal is to grow this community so that we can all embrace our Latinidad, secure the big bag, and never question our cultura ever again. Please also take a moment to leave us a review. I love reading your reviews. Let me know what you are thinking, what guests we should have on, and if there are any topics you would like me to cover. I appreciate you so much for being here. Te amo mucho, and I'll check you out in the next episode.